we have finally reached the last major area of this game to showcase its jumping puzzles. The Shiver Peak Mountains is not only a fantastic region, but has some of the best puzzles in the entire game, so grab your winter coat. I saved the best for last. Number 5. Tribulation Rift Scaffolding in Dreadhaunt Cliffs. Let's head on over to a rather hectic area of the zone. Just outside this mini puzzle lies a mortar area that's under constant fire. Just getting to the scaffolding was a bit tricky. Luckily, this unstable heap of wood and glue didn't go down, or else we just wouldn't be able to experience it at all. The simplicity of the scaffolding is in such stark contrast to the rest of the area, and has really stuck with me in a major way. Just start at the base and just make your way up. It's not difficult, but it doesn't have to be. If anything, I just wanted it to be longer. Just jumping from plank to plank for a few more minutes would have been amazing. Tribulation Rift is certainly one of the chillest puzzles in the game. Aside from, the ice cave, but there were no trick jumps or hidden entrances, just a good time. After making it to the top, you even get a vista, a nice view, and the entrance to another jumping puzzle, which didn't make it onto this list, by the way. Number 4, Shamans Rookery, over in Wayfarer Foothills. The reason the Rookery is so high up is because it's just one of those jumping puzzles you don't forget. It's so simple and so easy in hindsight, but back then, it wasn't. Let me tell you, I spent hours trying to complete this for the first time. And it wasn't even because of the bad hitboxes and erratic movement from the crows. It was more so the unfair two-tiger fight at the end. How rude. I think it's pretty lame, honestly. It's the single most difficult fight in any jumping puzzle. And Wayfarer Foothills, the beginning area no less. It does make a bit of sense, however, theme-wise. Every part of the puzzle has its own theme. It may be a bit difficult to spot or understand on your first go-around, and unless you look for it, but it's absolutely there. From crows to bears to tiger, all animals and all sacred to the Norns. And if you know them like I don't, you know that these are metaphorical figures to be worshipped. That's why the crows are labeled as sacred and knock you off platforms. But really, to them, all animals are sacred and deserving of divine protection. Well, except dragons. Talk about prejudice. Number 3, Cuddlers Cove in Timberline Falls. Cuddlers Cove is just a taste of your patience. And what an ironic name that is. How far can you go before you give up? Deep within the Quaggan City lies this little monstrosity. Essentially, you must jump from sphere to sphere, and there are only about a dozen or so broken up into 2 parts. It's so easy, you exclaim. But then you fall over and over again. It starts with slight frustration, like, man, this is pretty difficult, huh? And then you make it to sphere 5 or so, and you fall, and your anger really starts to peak. You're not even halfway through, and you're already spent 30 minutes. What is wrong with you? No. What's wrong with this game? Obviously, the game is at fault. I am good at jumping puzzles. And after all, I've been doing this for dozens of hours. How can you tell me that I'm falling over and over again at the simplest thing? Then you fall at sphere 2, and you break. Where's that damn mesmer in their portals? I'll take it. I hate this. I hate everything. I quit. After one more try, though. Just one more. Oh, okay, that one was close. Let's give it one more try. Wait, just one more that doesn't count. And then this goes on and on and on for 20, 30, 40 more minutes until the grand prize is in sight. And you realize it was all worth it. Sort of. Number 2, Lornar's Pass in Griffin Rook Run. This is by far one of the most difficult puzzles in the entire game. The gist of it is that you must escort this bomb all the way across the valley filled with tricky jumps, huge drops, and, unfortunately, griffins. Get hit a single time and you have to restart from the beginning. Granted, were there no griffins, it would have been pretty short, but that's besides the point. The parts that sucked the most were when you were hit from these birds outside of their normal range, or you jump off a cliff and you lay down on the ground for 4 hours straight, giving the birds enough time to strike you. It's very frustrating. I swear I broke once and just massacred entire generations of griffins out of frustration. Of course, if you're lame and you have a friend kill everything ahead of you before you get there, it will be much easier. But it's like taking a mesmer portal. And we all know what we think of those people. Oh, that's bad. These kind of puzzles remind me a lot of playing an entirely different game. Like some kind of platformer. Like an actual platformer where one wrong move and you're dead. But each time you go through, you get better and better. And that is marvelous to experience. And in an MMORPG, no less. Typically, you'd see this with, like, you know, Mario Galaxy, or any Mario, really. Mega Man's a big one. It's fantastic. ArenaNet perfectly demonstrates the unexpected, which is partly why I like this game so much. And finally, to number 1, Shattered Ice Ruins, over in Frost Gorge Sound. Now for the last of the last. Not necessarily the best in the game, though. Over in Frost Gorge Sound, the most difficult Shiver Peak zone, lies these ruins. To get there, aside from traversing Frost Gorge's already difficult landscape, you must brave the ice-cold water to find the hidden entrance below a mountain of snow. And then when you get there, it's not a difficult, trap-ridden puzzle, it's just an adventure. Travel through what was, over broken bridges, and topple the minor dangers lurking around each corner. I love the simplicity. Like I've mentioned so many times before, you don't need something super complicated or tricky or difficult or beautiful. And that's exactly what we had here. It's just good design. And in the future, I would love to see more puzzles like this one. The ones where there's no fanfare. And I think that's great. It's the model I feel all jumping puzzles should base themselves off. And how fitting at the end of the adventure of this season. Just as a quick recap, we covered something like, 25 awesome jumping puzzles out of, definitely 50 plus. Most of these zones had about 8 plus in each, which is a lot of puzzles to cover, especially considering I had not actually played a lot of them before. I actually had to learn them and then make sure my recording was not super edited, because then that would look bad. So I kind of derived a little enjoyment for myself, but I think largely a lot of the puzzles in this game are incredibly frustrating. Not in oh, I can't make this jump, but in a, what am I supposed to do? I'd say a good half of the top 25 are probably like that, which is kind of unfortunate. But the ones that I do like, I remember and I love them. And I come back to them and I do them again just to experience it again and try and rekindle that fire that you experience it for the first time. Like the one that I remember a lot is the airship, the big red airship in the air. And that one's such a fun one. It was so different, so unique. And a lot of the top 1s and 2s are typically the ones that I definitely recommend. If you try any of them, it should be the 1s and 2s of each one, except for maybe Kryta. I remember Kryta being awful. I think the only one I can remember from that zone at all was Troll's Revenge, and that was because it was in Lion's Arch, and it had a revamp, and it took forever. I'm pretty sure that one took probably about 2 hours, but only because of the first 2 parts, which had the really tricky jumps. And the rest of it was the cool part, where you just kind of went along an adventure. And the stakes weren't that high, which was nice. And then funnily enough, in this zone, we had the shortest jumping puzzle, which only lasted about, I swear to God, it was 30 seconds. It was crazy. I was thinking about doing other lists for this series, like the overall top 5 or the top 5 miscellaneous. So I would do the Holy Event ones and the ones in the Ruins of War and all that. But I decided that this is a pretty good end for it. The views have not been very good, but it's too bad because I think this is really interesting. And also, just in case you're wondering, Guild Wars 2 is free to play, so make sure to jump in there and do it yourself. That's the fun part, doing it, not just watching someone else. It's not fun to watch someone else play Mario Party or whatever. Anyway, that is it. Next time we're probably going to be doing a dungeon series, the top dungeons. Maybe, I gotta look into it. It's a little bit difficult, very time consuming. As about each dungeon path, would take 15 minutes, and that's not even including the time it takes to find somebody. And you also have to complete it, which can be incredibly difficult as you go later on. Or just to even find a party. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.